This is Robert Kraft, and I'm your host on SNN Network. And today I have a familiar face on the program. I've actually interviewed him twice on my podcast, Mr. Tom Shaughnessy from now Delphi Digital. Tom, welcome back, man. How's it going?
Thanks for having me, man. People are going to get annoyed you keep having me on here.
Well, you know what? If you keep moving around, I think people, Tom from that one, so I expect you're going to be here for a while.
Yeah, that's the goal.
So to catch everybody up, who may have missed our first couple interviews, what's your background and, how'd you end up at Delphi Digital?
So Rutgers Business School, I was involved with MicroCaps for a while, researching, analyzing, for those who remember MicroCaps way back when and Seeking Alpha, and that's how we met, Bobby. Mm-hmm. And then I went on to work at Oppenheimer on their cloud and communications team, the equity research department covering cloud and communications. And then from there, I actually wrote a 100-page blockchain white paper as part of that team with my managing director at the time, and just completely fell down the crypto rabbit hole. I knew I couldn't do this at a normal firm, so I left to found 51% Crypto Research, so just institutional sell-side research for crypto. Merged it with my current partners at the Delphi team, took this name, and there's 5 of us full-time just analyzing the crypto space.
Well, I don't expect you guys to be bored ever, especially with all the news that's happened this week. We're recording this interview on Thursday. What's today? June 20th. And sorry, my calendar's right there. So there's been a lot going on this week. But first, before we get into some of that news, you mentioned that you start off with MicroCaps, and I'm going to be a little self-serving. I have to here. How would you say investing in microcaps and microcap stocks helped you with what you're doing today with all the institutional grade research in cryptocurrency and blockchain?
Yeah, I mean, there's obviously a ton of parallels. So, I mean, you're doing it. Microcap investing and research was a very different game from institutional type research. So, the markets are totally different. So you have, well built out companies that are, they have cash flow. There's models to build. There's technology to look at. Microcaps is way more of betting on the horse, betting on the team. Let's find this before other people. Let's go dumpster diving and find the next great company. So, to each his own on both. There's definitely a lot of parallels. I think there's more parallels with crypto and microcaps than people think, especially on the fundraising side, and especially on the team side. But it definitely helps.
Oh, well, okay. Again, before we get into the news, I got to hear a little bit more. What would you say is let's give your top 3 biggest parallels between, let's say your microcap due diligence and looking at, the next ICO that thinks they're curing cancer or something.
Yeah, no, it's a good parallel. I mean, ICOs are, 99% of those coins are sketchy. They don't have a business model. A lot of them were scams. So that's worth saying right at the beginning. There's a lot of derivatives on ICOs like IEOs through exchanges and IDOs, which I just found out about today. But yeah, it's a new thing that popped up this week.
What's an IDO?
I don't even know yet. And but the parallel to teams is very clear. In microcaps and nano-caps, you're looking for the best jockey, the best, most relentless founder that can put their time and energy to build a real company from nothing. In crypto, you're doing a lot of the same. You're betting on developers and founding team members that will drive technology that a lot of people don't understand forward. And a lot of that is vague and up in the air, and you have to do a lot of work to look into their past, their successes, and what they're doing today. So the team and researching the team is definitely the crypto microcap parallel, I think.
Cool. All right. So now we're going to do a hard transition. We're doing a hard transition into all the news that happened this week. Facebook, stablecoin, Libra. So if you hadn't heard those keywords, let me put it into a nice sentence. Facebook announced plans to launch a stablecoin called Libra. We're going to dive deep on this a little bit. What's your initial take on this news? What does this mean?
Yeah, I mean, the initial take, I believe 2 days ago was the release, or yesterday. I'm losing track of time here, but the initial release was insanely positive from the crypto community and mainstream media. I mean, you're basically legitimizing the entire crypto space by having the massive social media company Facebook with 2.4 billion users roll out their own crypto. And the technical nature of the multiple white papers they released it took everyone by surprise. They were really well done from a technical standpoint on the logic and their approach, and everything was great on day one. And then people started digging into it and they started, picking some holes in it. It's worth pointing out that while Facebook's plans with Libra can legitimize the crypto space and be used as a cryptocurrency to also interact with normal cryptos eventually, the point is that this is not a full-fledged crypto or a blockchain. There's serious differences that from an ethos standpoint and a design perspective that separate it very substantially from Bitcoin and Ethereum and other cryptos. Full disclosure, I own some Bitcoin and Ethereum. But the point, and I don't own anything in Facebook or Facebook stock, but the point is that Facebook and Libra is amazing for the space, for crypto. It could be a massive financial and educational on-ramp to crypto, but it's very, very different from normal cryptos today.
All right, so let's get into that difference. What's the main difference then between Libra, what Facebook launched, and as you said, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and some of these other ones that are out there for a while?
Yeah, I'll throw a couple differences out there, and we could dig into whatever you find most interesting here. But one of the main things is Facebook's Libra project has actually two tokens. The first one is a low volatility cryptocurrency, which is kind of like a stable coin in a way, backed by a basket of fiat currencies like the US dollar and others. And then there's a Libra investment token, which will basically be used to fund the reserves, and they'll have governance rights over the platform itself. So the first major difference between Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Facebook's Libra is that those currencies, cryptos, can vary, can go up in price over time, accrue value potentially. Libra is supposed to be a low volatility mediums of exchange. I pay Bobby $10 to view this podcast or something, and that $10 will be worth $10 tomorrow. Bitcoin and Ethereum could be worth 10 today, 25 tomorrow. Obviously, the prices are different. That's probably the main difference from the start. The second one is basically how it's built. So Libra is going to launch with 100 validators, well-known companies, Coinbase, Stripe, that we know today, to secure the network. Mm-hmm. These 100 validators are basically chosen, so it's known as proof of authority to begin with. Bitcoin and Ethereum have no set validator set. Anybody can join, run node implementations, contribute to the mining pool, and secure the network in a permissionless manner. Facebook's Libra is controlled by 100 validators, hopefully 1,000 over time, and the goal is to decentralize it to proof of stake over time.
Because I would say I want to hit on that first big difference, because when we think about Bitcoin and Ethereum, I remember the original thesis, and it's still pretty much the same, is the idea of decentralization. So we're talking about a low volatility type coin that's also backed by actual fiat currency. I mean, doesn't that break away from what we traditionally think of as crypto and why it even exists?
Yeah, it's a great point, Bobby. It totally does. I mean, Bitcoin, Ethereum, it's a belief system. It's, we believe that if we could convince enough people that this has value, it does. And that's the same thing with, existing money that we have today. Just take your pick. When you think about it at a granular level, Facebook is backed by real, in air quotes here, real, but backed by fiat currencies, which are also a belief system, but it's definitely a different backing. So for sure, it's totally different. And the decentralized nature of cryptos, there's many different areas you could gauge decentralization. One is who controls access to the code. Another is who controls the mining pool. Are there any, leaders out there that, control the narrative, stuff like that. Facebook coin is definitely, and they've even stated this, centralized to begin with, which is fine for their focus, but it's worth pointing out.
So would it be maybe this is a wrong thought or wrong way of thinking about this, but to me it almost seems like this is kind of like that bridge between let's say your traditional fiat and exchanging actual dollars and using credit cards and whatnot, to now this Libra, to kind of the extreme of like, all right, we're going to accept Bitcoin for payment for this. It seems like this is kind of like that middle, like, all right, we're now going to be using this digital type currency to actually buy and sell goods, but it's still going to be backed by the fiat. So, you're good. You don't have to worry about your, there's something backing it. It kind of seems like it's that bridge. Am I off base there?
No, I think you're totally right. I mean, it's definitely closer in nature from where we are with fiat to Bitcoin. So it's definitely, there as a bridge, both mentally and for use cases. But the question will always be, if my grandma is using Facebook Libra, does she really care about the tenets of Bitcoin, which is a globally decentralized, immutable digital currency that has scarcity properties with it? Mm-hmm. So will she care? Probably not. So the whole impact of Libra on Bitcoin and other cryptos hinges on whether, first of all, from a technical perspective, it hinges on how easy will it be to convert Libra to Bitcoin, right? At the start, I think they're not going to roll out support for that, I don't think, initially. I think over time they will. Mm-hmm. So that's the main thing. The second thing is, can you convince people that buy Libra to also buy Bitcoin and cryptos and others? And that's the other question that is worth talking about.
Yeah, they're like, why convert it if I can use this to buy and sell stuff? Like, why should I convert it to Bitcoin? It doesn't make sense.
Exactly. But it in my mind, it definitely pushes people towards understanding digital currencies and being able to access them. There's only take your pick here, Bobby, but the point is that there's only 25 to 50 million people globally involved in crypto. Mm-hmm. If you want to look at Coinbase, which is one of the most popular US exchanges for crypto, they have 20 million users. Facebook has 2.4 billion users. So the pushing billions of people to crypto, this is a huge opportunity for the space, but it's worth pointing out, as we talked about, Facebook Libra is not a full-fledged crypto. That's fine. They're very upfront and poignant in their goals here.
Right. Like they're not trying to fool anybody.
No, of course not. And, the Facebook team
is incredible. To me, 'cause I don't know nearly as much as you.
No, I don't know nearly as much as I should, right? But the point is the Facebook team is, released a really well thought out and well researched set of white papers. I mean, they not only have two tokens, one an investment token, one the low volatility, stable coin, but they also released white papers on their new programming language called Move, how the foundation will be managed. I think that's its own white paper, blog post. The consensus mechanism where, how validators come to agreement, which is based on, old cryptography mechanisms and stuff used by cryptos today.
Mm-hmm. Well, my thought process with this, and it really makes a lot of business sense that they would do this, because we all think of Facebook as probably the number one social media platform for advertising, to put out for people to advertise their consumer goods, products, and whatnot. So it only makes sense. Well, why not bring the transaction portion of that onto the platform so people aren't leaving to, let's say, go buy the product using PayPal or something like that, And this is almost a way in which that they can do this without there being any type of credit card transactions, right? I mean, it seems like that's the road they're going down. Like how back in the day when people were, I remember hearing an interview a long time ago and hearing that when they would play video games and you would be exchanging digital currency for goods or whatnot.
Fortnite V-Bucks.
Yeah. Yep. So like that's what it just makes so much sense that's the
Bobby,
road they're
I
going
would
down.
think that you're like a crypto analyst at this point. That was perfect, but
wait, that's
I
all I need to do? I'm just kidding.
You're in, Bobby. But to your point, basically a lot of people in the crypto space are wondering, does Facebook Libra compete with decentralized platforms that could create unstoppable applications where there are no controllers, like those that are built on Ethereum? And initially I thought that might be the case too, but after further thought, I'm more in line with your thinking. This is going to be a tool to be used by the Facebook community and Facebook devs and businesses to handle payments and transactions at first. And then eventually they'll probably open up the programming language to be more expressive, not just based on predefined protocols, to allow people to build potentially real applications on this.
Cool. I apologize because I didn't read the white paper, some of the more nitty gritty in terms of rollout. Did they give any timeframes as to when they think they're going to put this out there?
Yeah, I mean, they have a testnet launch now. I believe developers can check that out and look at it online. I'm not 100% sure on all of the dates. I believe they're aiming for a 2020 launch though.
Mm-hmm. So we've been talking, about the well, I've been surmising and really earning my analyst degree here, as to maybe some of the pros of this whole venture here with Libra. I mean, what would you say are some of the cons, some of the downside risk for launching this that Facebook is doing here?
Yeah, I mean, I guess
for the industry too, actually, as well.
Yeah, I mean, for the industry, for the crypto industry, it's great, but there's always the, question mark of, is the crypto industry going to be able to explain the differences between real permissionless digital assets and Facebook Libra? And that's a huge question, right? Because there's huge differences there. The other thing is, I'm just seeing this around, but the regulation is, people are starting to question whether or not this thing will even launch. There's France, I think, had a review, and then I think the U.S. government or the Senate committee just asked to review Facebook's coin. And, the main factor there is since Libra is launching as a permission network with validators controlling it, those are key attack points, which means it can, in theory, be shut down. Over time, as this thing grows and hopefully transitions to where the Libra investment token holders or the second token, not the low volatility crypto, control the network, then there's a chance that, okay, this thing might be, it might not be able to be taken down basically over time.
Got it. So then, I don't want to take too much of your time. We got to see who the Knicks are going to be taking number 3 overall. So with that, what would you say is your main takeaway then from this news that, we should be looking out for maybe in the coming months?
Yeah, I would follow regulation and see how people react to this. And I would also just be a casual consumer here. Check out Facebook and see what the reaction is from people. See if they'll use this and just see their reactions. But this is positive for legitimizing the crypto space. It could be a huge on-ramp financially and educationally. And I think it's a pretty big deal. But, people should keep in mind, this is not Bitcoin. This is not Ethereum. It's not true crypto. But it could be on its way there over a couple of years as they decentralize.
Cool. And with that, Tom, where can my audience go and find more information about you and Delphi Digital?
Thanks, Bobby. Appreciate that. It's Shaughnessy119 on Twitter and delphidigital.io.
Tom, pleasure as always, brother. Talk to you soon.
Always, man. I'll see you soon.